we start recording. So I just want to welcome everyone again to Philadelphia Dance Projects, our informants. Make sure that Tommie-Waheed Evans is center stage by pinning his video. And please mute yourself, your audio, until we open up for conversation. Just a quick little introduction. Years ago, I was a curator at the Painted Bright Art Center, and we had a series called Dance with the Pride, which I started. And it became a tradition that Philadelphia opened every season with a Danko on Danko concert, which was the company members, of which Tommie-Waheed Evans was a principal dancer, got to choreograph on their members. And I really liked his work. And later, when I was invited to do Dance Boom at the Wilma, I invited him to show his work there. And then sort of followed him over the years, and our paths crossed again. And I've invited him to show some new work at PDP in 2021. So you all may know him as a very revered teacher, and he's grown to be a stellar choreographer in our community. And he's most recently garnered a very distinctive award from the Princess Grace Foundation. So I think you'll enjoy this, as dances can be very complex technically, but they are very subtle in meaning, and yet I think they're expressively heartfelt, as I've said before in writing him recommendation letters. The new work sincerely evokes some themes that he's been exploring throughout his artistic career, particularly race and gender as they play out in public and private realms. So I'm very pleased for us all to have this opportunity to hear Tommie-Waheed Evans share his work in this way through the informants. So I'm going to turn it over to Tommie now. And thank you all for coming and having a conversation with us. So take it away. Yes.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. How do you prepare for something like this? I don't know. I was raised in the church, and my grandmother thought I was going to be a pastor and a preacher. So I sometimes have to lean into the fact of I watch people speak and talk about subject matters. And today I try to do that, come with a sort of beginning, middle, and end flow to this whole thing. And I just couldn't really arrive at how or why and where and when and all of it end. So I'm just going to free flow. I do, as Terry said, I teach at the University of the Arts currently, and I suggest that everyone really take an opportunity maybe to grab a journal, a paper, a pen, or maybe your phone. I ask that you write down words of meaning, write down words of reflection, write down questions. I'm also in this session interested in hearing the questions of the things you may like to see that you didn't see. As Terry said, she has commissioned me to do this project with Philadelphia Dance Works, utilizing my company, Waheed Works, and the project is entitled Home. And over this course of this year, me and my dancers will embark on these particular moments of practice and a process to generate movement, then to manipulate movement, then to talk and reflect and share, and then to also then have another session after that where we will begin to mold and question. And one of my favorite choreographers is Horfesh Schechter, and for one of his projects, I was following him, reading about the process. He said that they generated a lot of movement, And then as it got closer to the performance, they took away what didn't matter. So we, while he works, are currently in the beginning process for this work. I'm gonna say that again. We are in the beginning process of this work where I'm meeting individually with dancers. We're having conversations, we're generating a movement, we're manipulating. And then as time goes and we keep meeting, I'm hoping that come 2021, we will have this abundance of movement that then we can manipulate and frame and structure into this piece. One of the things I do pre-process is I have notes. So I have notes on my phone, I have notes in my computer, and one thing that I just don't do is organize these notes. So I have things here and there. You may find me repeating something that I probably wrote somewhere. What does my notes do? My notes kind of provides this gateway of doors that I can enter, these paths that I can go down, the possibilities that can emerge, and then these sort of mantras. Like there's notes that sometimes you write that you're not actually telling someone, but some kind of way it appears in the final project. So I should also say, lastly, about the notes is that it's a lot. And the place I'm in my career right now is I'm aiming to yeah, distill and find out what really needs to be said. I think because I was raised in the church, you know, I can tackle on the subject matter in such a deep and complex way that then we may ask too many questions. So the majority of the questions I may be saying tonight, or the majority of the words I may use tonight, may not actually enter the next phase of the process. It may actually get left behind, but these are things that are emerging. So with that being said, I want to start the performance with a reading. This reading comes from one of my students. We was doing an improv study in my studio practice at the university, and I requested that people utilize the space on Zoom, that is, utilize this space in any way, shape, form that they needed to in that moment. And I said, we can use our voices, we can journal, we can dance, we can turn our cameras in odd directions, we can keep changing our cameras and changing our lens, we can keep unmuting the mic and adding language and words and thoughts and reflections. And she offered this particular paragraph that I'm going to read. And after the class was over, I asked her, I was like, you know, can I keep it and bring it with me? And I think it's just a great gateway into, like, you know, where I stand right now with dance, my research, society, my process, pandemic. Here we go. It's been a while since I've danced. It's been a while since my feet have touched the ground and allowing the vibrations of my emotions to run through my body. It's been a while since I've danced, since I've had to let my tears flow through me, allowing the space to be morphed and shifted, allowing the world to feel my energy. I don't feel the need to dance right now because I'm scared. I'm scared of what it really feels like to feel there's so many, sorry, my phone was ringing and it really got me off. To feel as though there's so many Black bodies on the ground. I'm terrified. I'm hurting. Does this ever end? I'm sitting here holding my feet and my hands, praying to God that this pain goes away. Praying to God that I can make it to see another day. I see where I've been before, and I hate here right now. It's hard to look forward. It's hard to see what's next. I feel my heart beating straight through my chest. I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying to be okay. They told me to just take it day by day, but day by day, time after time, I miss the Black bodies I've never seen, even me. When do we get to rest? Every moment that passes feels like another storm our reality has become, our greatest fears, and I don't have much to say. I'm just trying to present learning how to end and how to give love and simply how to receive. I'm just trying to be present, learning how to be and give love and simply how to receive. I hope someday this pain finds a way to ease. That was a reading by my student Kamora Cooker. She's a fourth year student at the university. So we embark on this work home. Um, I began by first discovering or questioning or coming to a realization, that's what I really want to say, that there's two ways to approach choreography. One is inventing, the other is discovering or uncovering. One says, I'm going to make something out of nothing. I'm going to make something that I have a vision of, and I'm going to make a process and go after it, right? To make this vision visible. The other approach looks at the things with acceptance, that they've already been there. So you're uncovering its logics, you're uncovering the choreography. That's something I learned from a choreographer, Iman Gat. And I kind of want to say that I'm kind of doing a merge with this new production or this new project, we should say. On one hand, I am inventing, and on the other hand, I'm uncovering. So then we go further. I begin to ask myself, what do I want to do? I want to do work that matters, something that means something to me. So then I want to bring into my own story. Something that I'm reading is a book by Darnell Moore, No Ashes in the Fire. And I'm also watching Moonlight by Terrell McCraney and Barry Jenkins. And the things I really like about their work is this thing of is biographical. It speaks from a personal story, but then it also shares multiple stories. It goes out. So I'm definitely interested in doing that with this work. A work that basically acts as like, how does the world shape us? The world aggressively projects things on all of us. It's telling us what is wrong and what is right. What is a proper presentation of masculinity? A work about our innermost selves, a search for our true self, or work that is also helping us deal with our realities and fears in this world. Identity. I'm including these things like, being hated and excluded because of race and sexuality. I have notes that the audience must be inside of this experience. I want to include them into this performance. Then I question, like, what is spectrum? What does spectrum look like? What does it mean to consume something? How do we show that we understand? I'm bringing in question Blackness, gender. I'm bringing in question, homosexuality. Talking about intimate details that has built my lives and the lives of my dancers, and hopefully others who are in this performance, and that has made us who we are. So this journey started with a duet that I set on two of my dancers, Tony Bobby Rose and Antonia Wright. And the duet actually kind of came out of, not accident, but like it really came out rapidly because I began to just want to take opportunities that were in front of me. I've been asked to choreograph on places, I've applied for things, but I felt that there was this thing that I just never did things in front of me. So Roni Koresh had his Coming Together festival, and he always asked me to present work inside of this festival. And at the last minute, I was like, Tony, Antonio, let's really just do a work for this. So we began to question, what did it mean to be gay and Black in America? How do we feel around police? How do we feel around life? What was the danger that we may felt, the fear that we may felt? And out of this work, out of this conversation came the work, Tears We Cannot Stop. And then as we were creating the work for this festival, I was just like, I want to keep working on this idea. And this is where Home was birthed out of. I always feel awkward when I have to share the screen because I'm stopping my train of thought, but we're all together in this. So the first work we're going to watch is Tears We Cannot Stop. The dancers are Tony Bobby Rose and Antonio Wright of Why He Works. And my computer is doing something weird. Terry.
Terry, you're muted.
So I have a 3-minute excerpt of that, and I'll share that.
Go for it.
Okay. And I'll look for a longer piece. So
my computer needs to be.
Okay, is everyone seeing that?
No, because we're viewing Tommie's screen, not yours.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm frozen.
Okay.
Yeah, you are frozen.
Okay.
There we go. I'm back now.
Okay. Can you see my screen yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me just see if I can get full screen. Let me just see if I can get a full screen here. Window. All right. Unfortunately, it's not giving me a full screen.
Full screen.
trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and the officer just shot him in his word. Yay! Yeah, it's beautiful. The musical score is beautiful too. Look and see if we can find more of that.
I don't know what happened with my screen when I tried to share, but we can continue going.
Yes, we did have a tech rehearsal.
We did, and everything worked. But you know, Zoom has a mind of its own.
This is true.
I'm convinced it just really has a mind of its own. So we're just gonna keep pressing forward.
Okay.
So yeah, so then I began to just lean into the ideas that I really wanted the work to start to explore identity, interacting with community, and shape how we are seen and labeled, how we respond, how these places can could put us into a category. But yet, like, you know, this thing of like, you know, I want to know who I am and live openly. So then, like, you know, I began to write down words like sexuality, American identity, Black identity, self-acceptance, masculinity, stereotypes. Um, then I began to kind of be into this thought like I'm interested in taking these things, deconstructing it, and then building something new. So then moving into the production mode, I'm asking myself like, well, what world are we creating? What is this atmosphere? What are the sounds do we want to hear? What is needed? What am I looking at? I'm looking at Moonlight. I'm reading Darnell Moore's book. What am I listening to? I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar. I'm listening to CeCe Houston. I'm listening to J. Cole. I'm listening to Alvo Part. I'm listening to Bach. I'm listening to Walter Hawkins. I'm listening to, you know, Muslim guys. Um, how do I want these musical scores to start to be of influence? I don't know. I should say for this project, I do have a composer, Daryl Hoffman, sorry, who we was awarded a grant through the New Music USA project grant. So for this production, there will be this new sound score, what that may be, but I do want to still use our part from this duet. I still want to use some other recording. Also, I should say I love Kanye West, and I love the fact of how he samples and uses things. So then we're online now, and I still want to keep pushing forward. And so I've asked the dancers of my project to meet with me individually. And we started to come up with these solos. And the solos are in response to video footage we watched from Moonlight, in response to a question that I asked them all, like, how does one come to love oneself in the face of hatred when the world is telling them that queer people, queer allies, Black people, people of color, and their sexuality is to be hated? I got responses like, you know, the journey is present. Journey, I'm sure, you know, someone said I'm still trying to figure that out. Someone else said, you know, there's this emotional tuning that needs to happen or that is happening. It's inward. We look at ourselves. We're inside of ourselves in those moments. Someone else brought up how, you know, bringing up their past with their family and what it means to feel that certain type of things of hate from someone who loves you so much, how close it can become, how upset it can make you feel, how more hurt it can make you feel when it's someone close to you versus when it's someone of the outside world. And we create these solos. I'm gonna show the solos. I'm in the videos. I'm sharing the screen with them, but you're watching the dancers. So we're gonna try this again. This is Jamal. This is Kara. This is Raymond. And this is Danny. that's what we've been working on over Zoom. And like I said, these solos were built out of conversation, out of watching Moonlight, watching scenes from Moonlight, talking about it, me asking them questions. I feel like one thing that we are starting to come upon, sorry, with the project is that, you know, home means this place of community, this place of love, this place of acceptance. So, you know, once we're able to all be together, like, you know, how do we do that? How do we recreate that? But moving forward, another solo I worked on this week is with someone who I've collaborated with quite a few times. He was actually in the first video, Tony Bobby Rose. I think Tony's in this call right now somewhere. And later on, we can ask some questions about the process. But Tony is my former roommate. He's one of my closest friends. And he's assisted me for a lot of my projects. He's a former dancer for Elio and Dance Theater, another Philadelphia staple dance company. And it's Tony who I really am leaning on with this next thing about how when you're growing up in an urban community, how does one really feel inside of that with acceptance of themselves, with acceptance from other people? What is the things that we sometimes put on, mask behind, especially when we're alone? What does it feel like, you know, to be in this queer body in a immediate area that you know is not accepted? You know, what does it feel to walk along this street, this path, when at any given moment something can come against you, meaning some type of violence or hate? So we began to talk about that this past week, and we landed on something. I'm still trying to figure out what is exactly going to be the sound score that I put with it. I'm still not sure of. You can ask your questions around it, and let's just show you the solo. I should say I also imagine that the group is somewhere involved in this somewhere, maybe behind, maybe in front, but Tony is not attached to them. I definitely like this play of silence we're working inside of right now. And that is the work samples from home. Terry, do we have time to show one more thing, or should we just open up to questions from there?
Sure. Show another thing. They're so engaging. I mean, they're so, you've given so much information, and we're looking at them with different eyes. So I think that's really what we're aiming for here. So yes.
Great, great. I have one more thing I want to show. This is from something for the future that I've kind of started playing with inside of my studio practice and the side of my history and everything I do. There's this huge spiritual influence. A work I did in Philadelphia 2 years ago, which one of the dancers is here, Clarissa, I see you. Um, is this it dealt with this huge spiritual theme within verse, and from that I just been thinking about this is my whole childhood and the love I have for gospel music and spirituality, but put it inside this context of my queer body. So the work is called Sermon on the Mount, and I don't know when it's going to premiere. I'm working to get something for it in the near future. But in the meantime, me, Kira, and Jamal, two of the dancers from Why He Works, have created this duet. And I just want to show it. And this is just my conclusion. And yeah, I really love this work. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's so interesting. I always admire and I'm drawn in by your, very unconventional in a way, musical choices. And it's so interesting to see this work without music, with this, it's really, it's drawing me in even deeper. So it's very, very interesting. Thank you. Beautiful. And I love the dancing camera with that. The camera was dancing with those dancers.
Thank you.
Should we open it up? And if people just want to speak up, and if you also want to, you can use the little raise the hand icon in participants, or you can go to chat and enter a question. Try to get everyone that would like to talk a little bit or ask or converse. So if anybody would like to comment or say anything, please do.
I think Lois.
Lois, okay.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your work process, Tommie. Thank you so much. I paused to propose any question to you, knowing how complicated the world is right now. To not do any disrespect for anybody in any demographic. So I will just say, in your vision of where you see the role of the choreographer, or how the role of the choreographer is going to change in relationship to, like, this is a ballet company, this is a presenter, this is, you're at that place where you're making your way as a choreographer during these incredibly difficult times. I don't want to drag this off into technical stuff when you've done such a beautiful display of your work, but could you say something about your vision of where the choreographer will be in America, or who the choreographer is?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting question. Well, I can say what I hope. I hope that that work is still needed and people still want to engage and have work. I have already been kind of asked to maybe do something Zoom through, for a company in Ohio. So I think people still want to see and work with choreographers. And even with the fellowship I have for CBA at NYU coming up this year, they are trying to figure something out. They still want the fellowships to be able to research and create and make work. It's just that we may not be able to go on the campus of NYU. And even with, doing this, and I'm just really, really hoping that this is all not temporary, but it will keep shifting, and maybe there will be a day that we'll be able to be in a room together creating work.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. We have two more questions. Anne-Marie says, beautiful moving work. Did you rehearse dances to music? If so, what was it especially the duet? Sorry, getting that.
I'm assuming the last duet.
Yeah.
The last duet, I did not rehearse them with the music. I gave them the task to put it to the music. I was actually out of town when they did the recording. I generally go back and forth whether I choreograph to music or I don't. There's a lot of times I kind of put sound on and I want the dancers to create the musicality. So for instance, is that JB?
Yeah.
um, there's times where, like, you know, with the solos on Zoom, that was just a sound score I put on. I want them to create their own sound score. With the last duet, there were key points I wanted them to hit inside of the music, but I never pretty much, when something's slow, I never want the dancers to really ride it. I want them to kind of go against it. But when things are driving and very percussive, then I want them to get inside of that. Like, you know, like I said, the work I did on Philadelphia, like that was driving and percussive and had a lot of musicality inside of it. So I wanted them to play inside of that. But when things have space musically, I want the dancers to really go against it.
Great answer. Here's another one from Gina. Thank you for sharing everything with us, Tommie. Looking forward to home. What was the most rewarding part of the creative process these past few months?
You know, that dancers still want to work.
Yeah.
You know, I simply sent out a group chat, and I was like, I want to work on some things. I just want to get moving forward. And out of 7 dancers, 6 responded right away. And, you know, I think I was the only one caught up that I don't want to be on Zoom. I don't want to do it, but like they want to do something. And even now, like moving forward, they're like, when are we going to meet? What's happening? You know, so that's been really rewarding, that people actually want to do the work.
Great. Anyone else have something they'd like to?
Hello, I would like to just offer a comment if possible.
Sure, of course.
I'm Christopher, and I've never seen your work, Tommie, so this was a great pleasure to get introduced to who you are and what you're doing at the moment. It was really interesting to hear you say, you know, I don't want to go on Zoom, I don't want to Zoom, and I feel exactly the same way. You know, I just dread having to make dances for the computer and for the Zoom situation. So one thing, when you showed the Zoom solos, I was pleasantly surprised because I thought they were really quite beautiful. And something that I found especially beautiful, other than the fact that the dancing was very full and quite luscious in the context of their homes and tiny little spaces, that was just delightful. But what I really appreciated was being able to witness your gaze
Yes,
watching them.
I agree.
You know, and so for me, that justified this idea of it being on Zoom. You know, I wouldn't have been able to have that had I been in a live theater with myself as the audience member. And in this case, because of Zoom, I was able to witness your witnessing. So it's kind of like reminding me of this Shakespearean play within a play or something. I get to see the choreographer witnessing the work, you know, within it. And I found that really, really delightful. I found it, it was like kind of this deep scrutiny, but in a generative sense. And that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. As I was having these rehearsals and I was posting it on social media, some of the dancers, which Tony's here, he can comment on. Some of the dancers don't like my gaze. It's very intimidating to them. So I'll make sure I'll share my thoughts. But no, something that you said I want to share is, you know, teaching college students online has definitely been quite the challenge this semester. And I think the first challenge was really with myself. And I had the issues of, I don't want to teach them online. I don't want to do this. But there came this day that I just said, you know what? We have to do something. We have to do something. And I think when I made the step forward and figured out what I could do with them online, I actually now quite enjoy dance. I mean, still don't want to be online for long, but you know, I just feel like we have to make strides forward towards the dream still. Not making things, you know, like, oh, this is for Zoom. No, like how can I do what I need to do, but it work for Zoom? if that kind of makes sense. So that's also what I was thinking about what happened in rehearsals this week. I was like, like just for an hour, we can talk, we can learn this phrase, and then we can go. And I think it worked.
I had a comment I'd like to share. I thought all of this is it's truly lovely and wonderful to see. The thing that struck me is like there's a dimension to all this, because especially the pieces of seeing the dancers in their house, and they've rearranged furniture and made this so they can dance in this context, and they're thinking about the other of home, which is to your original and seeing people in their place and to adapt and these new relations in that this non-ordinary existence sort of like it's pretty phenomenal and pretty amazing. Also, the first video showed, there was something to streaming wasn't steady the way the dance danced. It seemed to stop and have their sort of like interdimensional quality to it that actually didn't change in the unordinary world, but so from all these revelations of other dimensions that tapped into to still create this new world there for the time. It's wonderful. And you.
Jeff, you were breaking up a little bit, but I think we got the gist of it. Yeah, it is a new world.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, Lois.
Could I just say, in this new world, and I'm not challenging you at all, Tom, I'm just saying that in this new world, it seems that also through my experiences, there are a lot of dancers generating content at home that is then being arranged more like a composer, and that individual dancers, I hope, coming out of this, perhaps get more choreographic credits.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my process, I always say that, the dancers are collaborators. And, as everyone know, I used to actually be a dancer, and so I totally understand what you're coming from, where you want to be acknowledged in that way, that I contribute to this creative process.
Yeah.
But to kind of not to fight against that, where dancers are just creating content too, because that's just the thing to do. I think a dancer wants to always have the camera on now that we have these camera phones, and I find students sometimes releasing material for my classes just because I'm like, when did you find the time to even record yourself?
Right.
I think some of it's a trend, but some of it we do have to acknowledge as choreographers. We have to acknowledge of when the dancers are giving suggestions and when the dancers are manipulating and when the dancers are actually generating the movement.
Exactly. And I think during COVID, it's gotten a little bit.
It is getting muffled because there's not that much you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's not that much you can do. Yeah.
Anyone else would like to chip in? Chirp in? Chip in, yes, for sure. Chirp in.
Quick question, Tommie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You talked a lot about books that you're reading and about Moonlight. And your dances are beautiful, by the way. And they do translate into the medium, the Zoom medium, really beautifully. It was very nourishing. So my question has to do with how the books you're reading and the movies that you're watching suggest dance for you, because your work seems like so much more than stories, or so much other than stories. Let's put it that way. So how does that work for you?
That's a very good question. It works in a variety of different ways. I can tell you how I'm using these materials right now. With No Ashes in the Fire, I'm just using that as an example of how we can tell a story, but also tell a story of history, and how it needs to come from a personal stance. So step one with me with using that as an inspiration is this fact of like, when I'm talking to the dancers, I'm not just asking them their stories. I'm actually telling them my own story and then being in conversation. So for instance, with Raymond, we were just telling stories of like, when we were bullied, when we were picked on. So me offering that over, me also knowing that I want that to be um, a mechanism to manipulate material. For Moonlight, I'm using that more so for the experience I would like the audience to feel, the way I want to use sound, the way I want to use color with lighting. I've took the scenes and we talk about what they're doing as in the mood you're feeling, and the emotions, and the way something's moving. So and then like I take those words and put it inside the process and try to move them. I'm not really using like the fact something else I'm taking from Moonlight is the fact of the movie went in 3 chapters, and I want the work to be in 3 chapters. And this how this thought of like we keep transforming as we grow. So we start one way, then we grow this way, then we grow to this new way. There's a scene in Moonlight where Sharon, as he's called Little in this part, he's being taught how to swim. So it's kind of symbolizing like this baptism. And I have this idea like one of the sections be a baptism, and then like the third section kind of be this place of like utopian, like what is the world we desire to be in. So those are ways I'm using those things for the work.
Makes total sense. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so hi Tommie, love the work and I really love it in silence. So with what you were just saying, and I believe I heard you say that the words become part of the process. Like, so the words from your conversation with your dancers become part of the process. And that's how you generate the movement. So my question, just to dig in deeper there, is I imagined as you were saying that the words become a sort of score for that you're saying to them as they're improvising to generate movement. Is that ringing a bell? I'm just really curious.
That
I'm
could be a
curious because
possibility.
it's like the thing of like, how do words become movement? What is that what is that movement from word to dance?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I never tried saying the words while they dance. I can definitely use that, but in the past, I can have a list of words. Or well, the words have to come from something, correct? Like we're looking at an image, we're reading a passage, we're watching something, and the words begin to come, and then words that are sticking, I create movement from in the sense of like, manipulating a phrase that's already been generated, that's already been done. So then also I can think of using the words as formation, using the words as a texture, using the words as a device maybe to manipulate like a duet. But I have not quite said, like, you know, the word is transgression. Let's create a word. Let's create a phrase using that word. Not yet. Not yet. But maybe I can try that in the future. But I definitely think words can be lifted off the paper and maneuvered into space some kind of way.
I think we can really see that subtlety in the work. You know, it's not literal, you know, and but yet it's emotive, you know, and so we get some feeling, some meaning from the gesture, and that meaning, at least from your description, we can really see that it's there. It's not, it doesn't, there's not a disconnect between the meaning that you're trying to project, I guess is what I'm trying to say, you know.
Yeah, kind of to piggyback off of that, Terry, is I do have this deep desire that it comes from and it comes through and it goes out.
Right.
So it
Beautiful.
can be, it's, you know, I'm gonna stop there. That's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful ending. That's a beautiful thing to say. I mean, some of the words, like your student talking about her dancing, missing the vibrations running through my body. That was just so great. Some of the words, like, distill what really needs to be said. I mean, I just took down some of your words. The world aggressively projects on us. How does one love oneself in a world of hate? I mean, these are all just, you know, just real fodder, and just, oh, this has made this informance with you so rich. So I just want to thank you so much. So great. So everyone, yes. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I did want to just say, Christopher Williams will be here on November 18th, talking about following the footsteps of Nijinsky. And our next one up, October 28th, we have another history even further back, when Lynn Matlin Brooks will talk about how Philly, it was the center of starting theatrical dance in the US back in the 1840s. So she's going to prove that thesis. So it's all interesting, and there's more online, and I'll keep you posted. And I just want to thank everyone again for being here, and stay well. Please, everyone, be sure to vote if you haven't done that already. And I hope you get a little dance or dancing in your day-to-day world. So thank you again, everyone, and good night.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Say goodnight, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommie. Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Lovely, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Tommie.
Hey, Lois.